Welcome everyone to the 2022 Yale in Hollywood Fest. This is our third year, and I'm so thankful that everyone has made time to watch these Yale films by an incredible community of Yale filmmakers. I am delighted to host this panel, and again, thank you all for joining us. I want you to know these filmmakers and their work a bit more, as well as learn more about what inspired these stories. So my name is Hannah Earl again. I'm the shorts programmer for the Yale in Hollywood Festival. And let's start this conversation. So we have several films here represented. The first is Roadkill. So Roadkill team, please introduce yourself and your Yale connection.
Okay. My name is Campbell Dalgleish. I'm a graduate of the Yale School of Drama in 1986. And this is a film that started as a play. My actresses are, actress is Julie Fane Lawrence. She's also a Yale School of Drama graduate. And then Fernando Londono, a good friend of mine who's a great actor. He plays Staban. And cinematographer Niav Kanti, a good friend of mine, and Yeladzimir Pikachu from Belarus. Lighting was Warut Snidvongs, and then Steve McCloskey did the design, that Dennis Rinaldi did the sound, and Quentin Chiapata did the media, and the editor was Mark Foscalo. So those are my people, my crew.
Thank you. The Wine Bottle. Please introduce yourself and your Yale affiliation, if you would like.
Hi, yes, of course. My name is Adrienne Owings. I am the director, writer, producer, and actor in The Wine Bottle. I'm Pearson College, class of 2020. And the other Yaley on our team was Vim Bayouche, who was a assistant director, who was Branford, I believe, class of 2019. So yeah, we're stoked to be here.
Thank you. A Siren's Sorrow.
Hi, everybody. My name is Chloe Gardiner, or Chloe Lauren. My film is A Siren's Sorrow. I was the writer, director, and producer. My father was a producer as well, and he studied at Yale, and he graduated in 1978, where he studied architecture. So went from, I guess, math and science to art. So different, fun leap, but that's my film, and yep.
Thank you. Karma's Meth Nightmare.
Hi, everyone. I'm Donna Ong. I'm the director, writer, and producer for this film, and I'm TD06. So we're also really thrilled to be here. I graduated more than 16 years ago, so it's so nice to reconnect with the Yale community.
Wonderful. And finally, He Was Hope. You have a few folks here.
Yes, so my name is Nick Frazier. I'm the writer and producer of He Was Hope, and I've got my wonderful mother here, Cynthia Holloway. She is a class of '84 alum of Yale. She served as the executive producer. Without her, this film wouldn't have been able to happen. And I would like to pass this portion of the introduction off to my wonderful director and director of photography, Taylor Conley and Nicole Zetkowski.
Hi, I'm Taylor Conley. I'm the director of He Was Hope. I work with Nick and Nicole pretty often. We definitely consider ourselves to be a team. We met in college, and we have a lot of exciting projects coming up, and He Was Hope was really like the catalyst for all of that. That was the first time that we had all worked together, and we've been working together ever since.
Hi, my name is Nicole Zetkowski. I'm the director of photography for He Was Hope. And like Taylor said, I met everybody in school. And it's just been such a pleasure working with them.
Thank you so much. These are great connections and sometimes family affairs. So it's really great to hear about the Yale affiliation too. All right, so my first question for everyone is, what was the inspiration behind this story? It always starts with an idea. It starts with a thought, a passing thought. And of course, we know that it takes so much work to get it to the completed stage. So let's start with Roadkill.
Well, the inspiration for this was a play that I'd written rather quickly, and then realized it would probably make a good film. And I worked with my cinematographer, Neav Kanti, and we sat down and looked at it. We were debating whether or not to make this a comedy. That was an idea for a while, and then we decided to make it a drama. And the premise here is that we often think of love and relationships as a kind of very positive, fruitious thing, giving birth to children, multiplying the earth with our beautiful selves. But this one was going to be about love kills, and how does love kill? And they don't mean it in the kind of Tarantino-esque kind of love kills, Kill Bill, but meant it in, no, how does love, true love between two people end up taking the life of somebody? And this was, the story is about a couple that keep getting into these little petty arguments as they are trying to, at the same time, have a child. And this happens on their 7th anniversary at a hotel, not at a hotel, at a restaurant where they're having dinner, and they get into an argument. They leave the restaurant, and it's foggy out, and they've had a few drinks, and they're arguing. And it's not the drunkenness that makes them kill somebody, but sort of this drunken kind of continual petty argument that seems to repeat itself again and again between two people. And in the rage and the fog and everything, they run over a young boy on a bicycle who is out gathering horseshoe crabs by the water. And they run back to the hotel and to report it. And when they report it, they learn that a drunk driver actually drove over the boy on the street because they left him in the road. And then it becomes a debate. Well, this drunk driver actually killed the child. Are we to blame or not? And they go back and forth about their love and about what responsibility they had in taking this child. And the irony is, here's this night in this room, in this hotel, where they had planned to have a child, to make a child with their love. So there's that irony in the end. Are they going to stay together or not? We see an embrace by the water as they return a horseshoe crab that they found next to the boy who was on the bike. He had been gathering horseshoe crabs, so they take that horseshoe crab down to the water where they had planned to have a poetic romantic evening. That's the night of the rose moon. I don't know if anybody knows it, but the night of the rose moon around the world, horseshoe crabs go up on the beaches and mate. It's their mating time, first week in June, all around the world. You can see these beaches covered with horseshoe crabs for the last 350 million years. That's been happening. So I thought that was a good metaphor for the film.
That is quite an inspiration. Yeah, and to take it from a play as well. That's really interesting.
Thank you.
The wine bottle.
Yeah, so the idea for the film actually started at Yale about a month before everything shut down in 2020 during my senior year. So fond memories. I was at a dinner party, and my friend who was hosting just didn't have a corkscrew, and we had a wine bottle that we couldn't open. And everyone started suggesting different ways to open it. Someone was like, let's use a lighter, let's try to poke it in. Let's try to, everyone was like offering their own suggestions. And I just thought, wow, this is really interesting to see how everyone is approaching this differently. It really sort of says something. It was sort of a mishmash of people who had come from, one was from a society and from an extracurricular. So we didn't really know each other that well. So it was a really interesting insight into people's personality very quickly. And I just thought that producing a short where somebody's hosting a dinner party and they can't get the wine bottle open, and that helps to reveal some sort of tension between the friend group. I thought that would be a really fun idea. So I wrote it during the pandemic, and then didn't produce it until I moved to LA last year and met some friends who helped me out. But yeah, the film is about 5 friends basically who are at a dinner party and can't get their wine bottle open, and the secrets that are spilled and all the tension that builds up as everybody needs to drink more and more just sort of culminates in lots of chaos and lots of fun. So it's my first film I've ever directed and made myself. So it was really a great experience and a lot of fun. So
That's fantastic. A Siren's Sorrow. What was the inspiration?
Hi. Okay, so my inspiration for the film, since a young girl, I've always loved fantasy films, and I loved mermaids stemming from The Little Mermaid. But growing up hearing about the mythology surrounding mermaids, they were always seen as more darker creatures. And whenever I saw movies depicting mermaids, they were always, happy, go lucky. And I wanted to kind of explore a darker side of this mythical creature that's not really, I think, explored really in cinema, maybe in literature, but not film. And I also, because I love fantasy and I don't really see, to me, I guess, a lot of women in like as the primary leads in fantasy films. So I wanted to, have some female lead actors, and I wanted to explore the darker side of women that, we don't have a lot of female villains in film, I think. So I wanted to explore that with the character of Lorelai, who was the mermaid, and then contrast her with the mother Gaia, played by Danielle Renee, who's more nurturing and caring. And unfortunately, the innocent person who is stuck between these two women is the young daughter, Cordelia, played by Laylene Stewart, who just joined the panel. So that's what I wanted to explore, and that was my inspiration for the film.
Well, thank you so much. And on that note, Laylene, would you like to introduce yourself and talk about your Yale affiliation, if you will, your role in this film?
Yes. I'm Laylene Stewart. I play Cordelia, and I really like the character Cordelia because it relates to me because I love mermaids and mythical creatures. The film was pretty fun making, and I love working with Chloe. Thank you for the opportunity too. And it was pretty cool to be the one who got taken away from the mermaid, the evil mermaid. But yeah, it was pretty cool.
Well, thank you so much for being here. Next, Karma's Meth Nightmare, inspiration.
The inspiration for this film was pretty random. I was living in an apartment where there was a 24-hour internet cafe on the first floor, and every time I would pass there were always these Nepalese kids that would just hang out there all the time, and I would always wonder what do these kids do? Why are they not at school? And being quite concerned about them, but also having mixed feelings about that they were quite annoying, but at the same time feeling sorry for them, and just wondering what is their story? Why is it that they just hang out here all day and not doing something with their lives? And I think the main kind of topic was about identity and how they fit into Hong Kong society. So it was also my own kind of exploration of my identity and my place in Hong Kong society, because so I'm ethnically Chinese, but my parents are from Burma. So they immigrated in the 70s, and then I went to an international school, and how I also felt, my identity didn't quite fit, and how my identity contrasted theirs. And also right now, Hong Kong is going through in its own identity crisis about where we're going in terms of our relationship with China, and are we international? So I think using Nepalese to identify that, to look into this identity question was very interesting, especially with their Gurkha backgrounds and with the British military. So that was that, and then just kind of exploring that, doing the research into that, coming to that, and then the drug idea came from my research, and then there is this whole a martial arts aspect to it. That's also part of my background as a film historian. So looking into Hong Kong cinema heritage. So Kung Fu is a big part of Hong Kong cinema heritage. So wanted to include that part of it as part of that nightmare. So
Thank you. And finally, He Was Hope.
I as the writer, will take this one. So with He Was Hope, it was written originally as the fulfillment of one of my assignments at one of the colleges that I attended during my time getting my BFA. That was in 2019. Moving on into 2020, when the world was flipped up on top of its head, and the intense civil unrest that followed the death of George Floyd in the United States, I felt a call to bring this story to a more relevant and a more direct sense in that it gave a critique of the current times that we live in. He Was Hope is a story about how two siblings reunite immediately following the death of Martin Luther King Jr., and I wanted to do what I could to express how I was feeling about the incredible violence and unrest in so many communities that have not had a place at the table for so long in American history. And considering, how successful this film has been on the festival circuit, how we're here talking with you all, I would like to think that it's resonated with audiences in the way that I was hoping. But I know now that I definitely couldn't have done it without the amazing people that are here with me right now, and all the people who couldn't make it. We've gotten so far, and I'm just so grateful for that.
That's great to hear. My next question for all of the filmmakers is, what was the biggest lesson that you learned from making this film? Filmmaking is, of course, a tough process. There are more challenges than we can anticipate. And it seems like there's always one big lesson from a particular project. What was that big lesson for you? We can start with Roadkill. Oh, Campbell, we can't hear you.
Thank you. I was saying that I make a running list of things that I learned from a film, and I think that, and I tell all my film students at City College that right after you shoot a film, sit down and talk about what worked, what didn't work. And one of the big lessons that I learned is that you need a good night's sleep. Everybody should have a good night's sleep before you come to the set. Don't come to the set tired. Don't come to the set, of course, on any kind of drugs or anything. Just be alert. That's the big lesson that I would always tell all of my cast and crew. That never happened in Roadkill, but specifically in Roadkill, I would say that learning the lighting and also what reflects off of objects in the set with light. And that includes if there's blood on a body that is liquid and you have a yellow light, which we did at one point, it's going to make that blood look like mustard. So that was one little technical lesson. I was fortunate to work with great actors who had their improvisations down, and it was easy to jump in at any moment and get the shots that we needed. I would say that the big lesson was shooting this in Amagansett in a hotel that I rented. The sun is coming up and we have yet some night shots to get. So it's all about, hey, get your timing in, get those shots in a timely manner, because you're dealing with reality out there in the world, not in a studio. It's not a studio shoot. So it was very important to make sure we got our shots before the light came up. But it was a full moon night, and we used the dawn light coming up as though that was the full moon. And our first shot happened to be on the night of the rose moon in a drizzling rain. So we didn't have to get any kind of drizzling rain fake in there to get the fog or anything. It was there. So that was by luck. So weather, know your weather, know what light's going to reflect off of. Make sure that everybody's got a good sleep the night before so they can be on point with their acting skills. So that's it.
Those are wise words. Write down those lessons that you learned
Yes.
immediately after. That's a great tip.
Yeah.
All right, the wine bottle.
Yeah, many things were learned, as usual with a first effort. I think the biggest thing was plan ahead. Luckily, I'd been on sets before, granted not as a director, but I knew that the day of was always the most hectic it was going to be. So as much as possible, we tried to plan ahead and leave time for things. But even then, so after planning ahead, the next lesson was be flexible. I mean, one of our actors had like a last minute scheduling conflict. We were about to go overtime on the second day, and we'd have to pay our sound person extra, and so we had to come up with really clever ways to get around, shots that we wanted to do that would take longer. And even like coming up with shots on the fly that I think are some of my favorite shots in the film, and being like open to that. So whenever the plans that you made the week before don't work out, be flexible, be open to problem solving, and also just being able to work together, finding a group of people that you can work with and that you can trust their creative instincts, and you can stand each other for 12 plus hours or more after the fact or before the fact. It really, really does make all the difference. So it was a labor of love from everyone on the team, and I don't think that we would have been able to do it if we hadn't just sort of strapped in for the ride and just trusted what was going to come out. So many things. Yeah.
That's great. A Siren's Sorrow. What was the lesson?
I learned think twice before filming near water, in water, around water, and site selection. So it was a little, because obviously it's about a mermaid, so we need to be near water. So we filmed at a beach. This also goes into site selection because the first beach that I wanted to film was El Matador State Beach in California, and the permit didn't go through on the day we were supposed to film. They said that I couldn't film there, so then we had to find another beach like the day we were supposed to film, and then that raised some concerns, and then having to get there and make sure all the camera equipment didn't get wet, and then safety protocols for being in the water. But I guess the biggest thing I learned was that a risk does pay off. So take risk, and don't ever think that any story you want to tell is too silly. Because I was like, I don't know if I should tell about a mermaid. Everyone's doing different kind of dramas, and I was like, no, do something you're passionate about. Focus on what you are passionate about and love, and take a risk with it. It's worth it. So that's what I would say I learned.
So much wisdom being shared.
Uh,
All such great advice. It's so great to hear. Karma's Meth Nightmare.
I learned so many lessons because this is also my first film. It's very hard to choose just one lesson to share, but I think probably the one would be timing. So I only had like 2 half days to shoot this, and I was warned that I was going to be able to do this, and I really tried to squash all my shots in. And then of course, as everyone was saying, the dynamics on the set, I think that was probably the biggest lesson I learned, like trying to understand what different people are feeling when there's so much tension, and also tension between camera and actors. If there's more time for the camera, that means you compromise the actors, and just trying to deal with all those dynamics. And yeah, there are actually so many lessons, but yeah, I think that was probably the biggest lesson that I learned.
And I think that's a challenge no matter what project you're working on.
Yeah.
It's a continual lesson.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And finally, He Was Hope. If a couple of you want to take this, please.
I definitely agree with what a lot of the other filmmakers have said about locations, preparation, all of that is a really big deal. Definitely like teamwork, having people that you can trust. I agree with that as well. I trust Nick as a producer wholeheartedly. I trust Nicole as a DP wholeheartedly, and that makes the entire situation a lot easier, because that is like just one less stress in a very stressful situation that you don't have to worry about when you know that the other people that you're working with know exactly what they're doing. And I think for me personally, that project really showed me that I want to be a director. I was kind of, on the fence about it because I had just graduated college and I was pretty burnt out from that. And I was trying to figure out if filmmaking really was for me, and working on the He Was Hope set confirmed it for me. And so that shoot's always gonna hold a special place in my heart, I think.
What a great experience. Nicole, did you have anything to share?
Oh man, everyone basically said what I was gonna say, and now I'm like, definitely like, the biggest thing for me was like, be ready to just always be on your toes, because we had a snowstorm about to hit, and that cut our shoot time like in half. So I kind of had to rework my lighting plan, and my lighting plan wasn't working, and then like with the snowstorm on top of that, I had to just kind of like just come up with something quickly on the fly. And probably another thing that resonates with me a lot is just like passion matters a lot, because I love seeing like Nick and Taylor get so excited about projects, because then it makes me do my job better, and it just makes me want to be on set for forever. Because I've been on sets where the passion isn't there and everyone's stressed, and it doesn't work like that. So
Absolutely. Leilene, did you have anything to add about lessons learned?
Yes, I learned that you have to be yourself when acting and have a lot of fun. Be still a child if you're a child. If you're an adult, you still have to have fun sometimes. And also have a set teacher, because set teachers, they make it even more fun, because I was still a minor, so I needed a set teacher anyway. But the thing about it, just be yourself, basically.
That's great. One final question to wrap up. We've covered a lot of ground, and these are such different films. And it's fascinating to hear similar themes about lessons learned as well. And before we wrap up, I just again want to thank all of you for creating such fantastic content to show at this festival. And thank you for your time and your thoughtful attention. We appreciate it so much. But my final question, I want to open up to everyone if you would like to share. What are you working on now? Where could we see that? So we can take our final 5 minutes. And if anyone wants to share about new projects, now is the chance.
Sure. Shall I?
Sure.
In the beginning, yeah. My next project is called Butcher's Table. It's about a wealthy American who purchases a chateau from France and moves it to Arizona desert and creates the whole world of a chateau with lawns and everything right there in the desert in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. And it's called the Butcher's Table because he also brings in the old butcher from the chateau, who claims to be the ghost of the chateau. And there's a sort of a melodrama that's going on, and it's a comedy, a very dark comedy. And I won't give the spoiler, but the daughter is running off with one of the gypsies in the area, and the father goes out hunting every morning on his little made up forest, accidentally shoots her. The butcher finds her, and I won't say what the butcher does with her because he is working for the owner of the chateau and does not want anybody to get in trouble. But he he disposes of her in such a way that nobody knows, and it ends up on the Thanksgiving table. So it's a very dark comedy, and gets revealed as they're all chatting around their Thanksgiving dinner, giving thanks, and a bit of a shocker kind of film. But it's intended to be very dark comedy. So that's Butcher's Table.
Thank you for sharing
And
that.
it began as a play.
Anyone else?
I'll take it next. I'm sorry. Sorry for going in order. Yeah, our production company is called In Quote Pictures. We're based out of LA, and we actually have a short, hopefully going to be re-released. We made it as part of the 48-hour film festival this year in LA, but we're re-releasing it and recutting it. It's called Stream of Consciousness. It's about a young man who falls in love with a fellow online gamer while they're gaming online. So it's very different in tone than the wine bottle. But we have another project also that's in development called El Chirango, which is about reuniting in a hometown after a death in a friend group. And we shot in the desert here in California. But if you want to follow us at all our socials are End Quote Pictures. So yeah.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of projects I'm working on. One of them I'm working with two professors from Eastern Connecticut State University on a docu-series about tobacco migrant workers. So if you want to know more about that project, you can follow our Instagram page, which is Stepping Into the Shade, and our website, Stepping Into the Shade, to see the progress that we're making. Another project is a documentary I'm making on my own. I was invited to see the Artemis launch at NASA, and so I'm going to talk about my experience there and my family's connection to working with NASA in the past. And then there's another project that I made a couple of years ago, but I want to re-edit it and do a longer director's cut. It's called Pumps. So I'm hoping to have that out sooner, because I've been working on it for a while, because it was during COVID, so I didn't have the same team. So I've been trying to edit by myself. So, but hopefully all these will come out within the next year. So
That does make a difference, and that's fantastic.
So I'm currently also working on several different projects. So one is a feature documentary. So we've got our first version out, coming out in 2 weeks here in Hong Kong. It's just a private screening, and trying to find funding to release it internationally as well, and buying all the rights for the footage that we use there. I'm also working on a TV documentary it's an oral history series of old expats in Hong Kong, and also trying to write 2 different scripts as well with several different partners. So,
Lots going on. That's great.
yeah, trying to keep head above water. Yeah.
Anyone else?
Oh, you can.
Taylor,
Okay.
please.
Me, Nick, and Nicole are working on a pair of music videos for an EP that's getting released at the beginning of this year, or this coming year, 2023. And then we're also trying to secure funding for a feature, and I will let Nick talk about that because he wrote it.
Yeah, so our team, working under my newly founded production company, Fraser House Films, we are to secure funding for a feature film called Blood on the Marsh. It is the story of my hometown, Brunswick, Georgia, when a debt collector working for a corrupt small town businessman finds that his prodigal brother has been released from prison early. He has to choose between the love that he has for his family versus his livelihood when it's discovered that his brother was released with a bounty on his head. And that story is one that comes directly from seeing the social, economic, and political divisions that existed in the community that I grew up in. The idea of the coastal elites versus the everyday people that lived where I grew up in Brunswick, Georgia. It's about an hour south of Savannah, right on the way to Florida. And it's riddled with all these different stories that I grew up hearing. And I really wanted to write a film that captured what it was like to live there and to grow up there and to see what was possible and what wasn't in a small town where it felt like everything was working against you to succeed and you had to try so hard to get above it. Yeah, our whole team is super excited for it. We're working so incredibly hard to first hopefully create a proof of concept and then use that as a launch pad to make the whole feature film. needless to say, I think it's going to be one of the greatest undertakings of my life thus far, and I can't wait to see what Taylor does as the director and what Nicole does as the director of photography.
Nicole, anything to add?
Oh, yeah, I mean, I'm super excited to work on these music videos and the feature. Like, Taylor just has such a specific vision. And it's just, she has such like an aesthetic, and I always love working with that and bringing that vision to life and making it creative in its own unique way. And Nick, as a producer, will do everything in his power to make sure that we can get the resources we need, the people, the places, the things. So these next few projects we're going to work on together is just going to be so exciting for me.
What a team. That's awesome. Laylene, I'll let you have the last word and then we can wrap up.
Okay, I'm also doing a short film too. I'm making it with my cousins. It's about like a remake of Hansel and Gretel, but in the South Central District. So yeah, I can't wait to show about it and also tell my other classmates. And I'm also juggling with 7 classes. I'm in 5 honor classes and taking Spanish and also animation, so I could start doing my own animation films too. So yeah, that's basically it.
No, that's a lot. And from all of these upcoming projects, it sounds like we have a lot to look forward to. So I want to thank you all again for being with us. Thank you for sharing your work. Thank you for being such incredible participants in this year's Yale in Hollywood Fest. And I hope to see you all soon. And I hope this isn't the last time we have a chat.